Welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to take a quick look at AMD earnings, which were amazing. They beat analyst expectations. Not only that, they gave great guidance. And as a result, the stock price after hours is up about 10%. For those not familiar, my name's Jose Najarro. I am a stock market investor, but before then I was an electrical engineer. So for me, I'm very invested. And I want to say this is probably my favorite market, the semiconductor industry, because it's one I understand. AMD is definitely a tier 1 stock in my portfolio, so obviously I'm happy. And on today's episode, we're going to take a quick look at what AMD has in stock for investors. If this is your first time here, make sure to hit the thumbs up, make sure to hit the subscribe button, check out the pinned comment for free Discord, free newsletter, and a lot of great investing links. So let's get started. All right, so let's start off with the full year. Remember, this is their Q4 earnings. So for the full year, AMD reported $16.4 billion in revenue, up 68% year over year. That is insane. Gross margins are about 48%, and that is up about 370 basis points from the prior year. Some of my favorite metrics when taking a quick look at their financial summary is first, operating cash flow was about $3.5 billion, and that was up 229% year over year. That means operating cash flow, same time for 2020, was about $1 billion. So we can see they're seeing strong growth in the cash flow. Another thing, they did repurchase about 1.8 billion shares of common stock this most recent year. And in Q1 alone, they did mention in the earnings that they did also purchase a nice amount. They ended up the year with a strong balance sheet of $3.6 billion in cash and short-term investments, and about $350 million, a little bit less in debt. And if we take a quick look at their overall quarter results, super strong as well. Record revenue was $4.8 billion. Analysts were expecting somewhere around 4.5. That was up 49% year over year. Gross margins were 50%. That's up 560 basis points compared to the same time last year. Again, strong operating cash flow, strong free cash flow. And they also did repurchase about $756 million just in that quarter, in Q4. During the earnings call, one of the questions was like, hey, AMD management, are you looking to kind of continue with this purchasing in stocks? Are you looking to make it more a more kind of constant thing? AMD management kind of said, hey, we really have no plan of making this more a kind of a quarterly thing. But if we do see value on our stocks, we are going to buy back shares.
Let's take a listen to today's sponsor. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for investors of all skill sets and risk levels. You guys know I love finding new investing tools and resources to help me scout out new growth stocks. And right now I have a discount for one of my favorite services The Fool offers. Through the Motley Fool Stock Advisor services, you get access to a ton of expert stock picks. Every month you'll get 2 new picks that are aimed at growing your wealth and to help you realize your financial goals. Stock Advisor's average stock picks have done amazing returns. If growing your money is something you'd like to do more of this year, you can visit fool.com/Jose Najarro or click on the link below for access to my special offer and decide if the stock advisor is right for you. Thanks again to the Motley Fool, and now onto today's video.
So if we take a quick look at some remarks, Lisa Su, the CEO, mentioned that every part of their business is performing extremely well, with data center revenue doubling year over year, driven by growing adoption of AMD's EPYC processor across cloud and enterprise customers, and they expect another year of significant growth in 2022. And to me, this is probably my favorite thing about the company is they did mention in the earnings call that roughly 20% of total revenue now comes from data centers, and data centers to some extent have higher margins. If we take a quick look at their overall segment market real quick, let me just pull that up. We can see the enterprise, embedded, and semi-custom. Even though that makes up less than 50% of total revenue, most of the revenue comes from computing and graphics. It does make up most of the operating income. And I do want to say the data center margins are probably pretty high. So it is it is great to see data center revenue now being roughly 20% of total revenue. And they do believe that market will continue to grow in 2022. And they did give a really strong guidance. So let's take a quick look at for the first quarter of 2022, AMD expects about $5 billion in revenue. That's up 45% year over year and 4% quarter over quarter. This is where we can see the semiconductor shortage just really taking effect in this company, because normally, and in a good way, right? Normally, quarter one tends to be weaker than quarter four. But because of the overall demand, the kind of demand kind of bleeds over to the next quarter. So right now they're seeing that sequential growth. They increase the expected growth to be driven by higher server and client processor revenue. And so as an investor, that's what we want to see. They also do mention that gaming market is still seeing strong growth quarter over quarter. It might be in the single digits, but they are still seeing sequential quarter in the gaming market. Remember, and AMD creates the chips that go on the PlayStation 5, on the Xbox One. And normally the holiday seasons is the highest season for that. But because of the overall demand, very similar, they do expect sequential order. For the full year, AMD expects revenue to be $21.5 billion, an increase of about 31%. And again, like I mentioned, I do believe the guidance and the strong beat is what's really driving the stock price up. Obviously, volatility can change, and right now, the overall mentality of investors, some investors might still be wanting to get out of the market. So there could be a possibility that with this kind of jump in price, people might sell off because they believe stock prices will continue to go down. For me, as a long-term investor, that kind of noise doesn't really affect me. So I'm planning on diamond handing these stocks in AMD for at least the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, if that. This is actually one of my favorite companies, and it is my number 2 position, only coming in behind NVIDIA. Let's take a quick look at their segments to just see where they're seeing the strong growth. So in the computing and graphics segment, they're seeing strong demand for premium desktops and notebooks. I mean, that's something that all the big players have been saying right now, that the consumer is really paying up big money for these high-end laptops. I personally just purchased a laptop for closer to the $2,000 price range to kind of be able to do these YouTube videos and kind of do all the video editing that I need. They do announce that, hey, in the upcoming quarters, they do have a nice pipeline. For example, they are releasing their Zen 3 Plus products, which should be in this kind of upcoming year, in the early first half of this year. They also released numerous new graphic solutions. In the kind of the enterprise and embedded market, I do believe this is probably, like I mentioned, my favorite segment. They are already previewing the 4th gen of their EPYC processor. The 3rd generation, which is Milan, has gotten amazing adoption. The great thing is that, hey, they are making strong relationships with the customers. So when Gen 4 comes out later in 2022, which is going to be called Genoa, right now it's Milan. Genoa, because they already have these strong ties with the cloud providers, they believe the adoption of Genoa will be even stronger than Milan, which Milan has already been amazing. Another thing that they are working with is they're making this kind of Genoa the base chip, but they're also working on separate chips from there that they're going to use, for example, the base chip to create optimized workloads. So one of the things they're going to do is Bergamo, which is going to come out in the first half of 2023. It is going to be part of the 4th generation Genoa, but they're going to specialize this chip for cloud efficiency. So I think this is just a new way for them to enter more markets and to provide better solutions to their customers. As an investor, I do believe this company will do great in the next 5 years. At the same time, I do believe this is going to be a very volatile market. They do mention that they have worked really well to maintain inventories and equipment from manufacturing partners, but that is a thing that I want to say is a little bit of a risk. If, for example, one of their manufacturing partners is unable to meet the requirement that they promised, or they might have some form of slip up, it can definitely cause some form of harm to AMD's stock price. I do want to say this is also a competitive market when you have companies like Intel and NVIDIA also kind of firing in all cylinders to some extent. Like I mentioned, this is stock I'm holding for at least the next 5 years. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.